pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the regular session of Goldendale City Council for September 20th. Who would ever believe we'd get this far and here this quick? Connie, would you be able to do the roll? I can see everybody's here except Lauren. Have we had any word from Lauren?
Lauren?
Is he online?
I can't get my Zoom to get big again. Oh, right there. There we go. I don't know if he's online.
What's his phone number?
I don't think he's on here. Noah, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Corley, can you hear me?
Was that person speaking?
Oh.
I can't hear you, Connie.
Okay. I guess he's...
And Corley can as well. It's a little bit choppy. It's better.
I don't think he's on here.
Okay,
Everybody else is here.
If we find that he is there, I'll change the report. So we have only Lauren Mayer not here tonight. The rest of the council members are all present. We don't have a public hearing to go through tonight, but we have some amendments to make on the agenda. First, there'll be no presentation. We had a presentation planned from the chamber. And then under council business, we had the chamber budget amendment request and the Simcoe sewer line notice of award. Both of those are not going to be covered tonight. Larry will explain more as we get to council business. But we need a motion to approve the agenda as amended and the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda for Goldendale City Council and the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you.
We need to excuse Lauren if you want.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Well, as far as on the notes here, I did.
Did you do it?
No, the council.
We're going to vote on it?
The council needs to vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, for now, we have Lauren not here. He may show up, but we need a motion then to excuse his absence. We don't have an idea of why he's not here.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse Lauren Maker, City Councilman for the City of Goldendale. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The next item are department reports. And we'll begin with the Goldendale Police Department. Nothing to report. All right. Goldendale Fire Department. You have a sentence.
Just that we've had an increase in EMS calls in the last month, and we are still looking for volunteers. So pass those cards around that we just handed out, and we have meetings on Monday nights if anybody's interested.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Thank you. We'll try to promote that more. Hopefully,
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe just a couple ideas. Maybe putting up flyers in the grocery stores on the windows. Maybe if we could get something printed up. I bet both the grocery stores would be willing to put something on their bulletin board.
I know one that would.
On their window, right. Or even on the check stand, you know, and maybe the community bulletin board. But I think that might be one that would be cheap to do, and you know, probably get the word out real good on that.
And if you could draw up what you want on a flyer, we can do it in here and then get it out, put it up. Because that's the sort of thing that will trigger people thinking about whether they might want to return to the fire department or serve again.
Right.
So that's good, thank you.
Well, Mayor, it was several years ago that the Volunteer Firefighter Association, they had a big, one of the billboards right across from IGA. And they talked, it was volunteer for your local fire department. I could talk to them again and just find out if there's a chance, if that could happen again. I don't know how if they go to certain cities, but I know they had one here 4 or 5 years ago.
Huh,
It was on that big billboard, just right across from IGA.
okay.
And I'll talk to them to see if there's a chance, if they could put one up down.
Okay, we'll put the flyers up, but if that
Oh,
happens, we'll
definitely
certainly support
flyers
it.
would be very helpful,
But
yes.
both would do even better.
Yeah,
Thank you. Larry, is Doug Phantom on for Public Works?
I don't think he's.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is council business. As I mentioned when we amended the agenda, the chamber budget amendment request is not going to be discussed tonight. It will probably come at the next meeting. There were some issues that needed to be sorted out. And on the Simcoe sewer line notice of award, that also is being delayed until we have
More documentation.
more documentation for filling that. And with that, we'll go to the Life Pack capital outlay, and I'll turn this over to Larry Bellamy.
Okay, actually, I'll be turning it over eventually to Phil Roberto.
Oh, good, he wrote the
He
grant.
wrote the grant, and we finally were able to get an award of a grant for our life pack, which was a key budget item earlier this year, and we decided to try to go this route, and it took a little while, but it's here, and we got a great award. So I'll turn it over to Phil Roberto as to what the next steps are going to be.
I only brought one extra copy, but I guess, do you have any copies?
I've got a couple copies.
Okay, perfect.
You're talking about the
That's cool.
striker.
Yep. And with the total of 24,850. So, well, I'll start that. So the Life Pack is the medical device that we talked about, I think almost a year ago, around December, January. And so this device is carried by EMS, and it's a multi-tool, able to get all the way from blood pressure, oxygen levels, to cardiac rhythms. And so getting this information is vital, not only to know what the patient is doing at the moment, but that information also goes with the patient onto long-term care so that the doctors can see sometimes medical problems resolved by the time they get to the hospital or to see their physician, so that they can have that history of what was happening when the call came in. And we've gone through a couple of loaners at Goldendale Fire, both that are antiquated, out of service date, just to get by. The last one we have, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's not a good position to be in when it does not work, right? So we worked really hard. I like to take all the credit, but it wasn't just me. Noah got us working on it. Sasha Holm and Juliana Ontiveros also worked on it. And the day that we submitted it, we were there a few hours, just late evening, trying to finalize everything. So I share the credit there. It was quite an extensive process that took almost a year for FEMA to approve it. So in that time, we've had some price changes. But we did get the award for $2,100 and, the amount of $20,571.43. We requested for $21,600 and subtract 5% that FEMA requires we put out to make the $21,600. So as Larry mentioned, the grant award took a little extra time than proposed, so the initial quotes that we got expired. The one you have in front of you is right off the press. as of today. And so we were able to go, the last quote we had from them yesterday was $33,000. And in talking with the striker, which is a manufacturer, that direct from the manufacturer, they dropped it $5,000 today to, well, over that. So it's $24,850 plus all the components. So the total would be $28,766.39. We are planning on turning in one of the old devices that they'll, as long as they take it in as trade-in, we'll get a $5,000 credit on that. So that'll bring our total to $23,766. That won't include, that will include 1-year warranty. And the device is good for up to 7 years, according to FDA. They can only do it for 7 years. Beyond that, it has to be replaced, just like the previous version. So the maintenance service for each year is approximately $1,200, but we don't have to get it for the first year. And that'll cover maintenance, testing, and any repairs, and then the manufacturer will provide a loaner if it has to go out for repairs.
That's good.
So that we don't go without. However, that part is not included in our quote. We have the option of adding that to it now, or adding that service plan to it next year after our warranty part. So the part that is there would be the $28,766.39. And of course, if we get the $5,000 credit, which we're hoping for, and we think we're going to get, in talking to the rep, there shouldn't be any problem, but of course no guarantees until they take the machine, right? So if we do that, that would offset what is on the warranty and maintenance agreement if we choose to do that. So I would ask the council for approval, if possible, of the full amount, the $28,766, which would cover the warranty if we get that credit. If we're not, we can discuss it at another year. And so the $28,766.39 minus the funds would leave quite an amount for the city to pick up.
Sure.
But as we've discussed, I don't know if you guys followed previous council meetings, we've had, well, Juliana mentioned we've had increase of EMS calls, and those, normally it's supporting our ambulance service, but more and more it's been primary care without KCEMS in attendance. And so that kind of leaves the fire department to care for patients, and in some cases transport them to the hospital directly instead of waiting another half hour to an hour for an AOS ambulance. So,
Sure.
do you guys have any questions, comments?
Council, any questions or comments?
So how much are you saying that the city's gonna have to pay for this?
Well, let me
With
do
the grant?
some math. So the grant is $20,500. Yeah, so let's see.
So roughly, we're looking like $7,000 or so.
About $7,000, yes. And so we would get, we have the $5,000, and we have the option to wait on and the guarantee, and the warranty service,
And
basically.
who's gonna carry this with them?
So it would be on the aid unit for the fire department.
And how come the fire department didn't get the grant?
Yeah, the fire department did get the grant,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did.
It was through the city, so they, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a no-brainer to me. I mean, great job getting that grant. That's a no-brainer. That's gonna save lives. That should be a unanimous vote there, I reckon.
They're not easy to get. What, but they're the old ones, is it completely out of commission?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and it's out of service, they won't service it at all.
Oh, okay. The reason I asked that, I thought perhaps that could be passed on to another fire department.
Yeah.
But if it's,
Well, and that's how we ended up with it,
oh,
is another agency gave it to us, because they kind of felt bad for us.
okay.
You know, and so we're able to at least get the credit. I don't know what they do with them. You know,
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
if that's their way of at least, you know, come and get a new one.
Right.
That's pretty nice credit for a broke-down piece of equipment.
Yes.
$5,000.
So just another question, when did the city start doing aid calls, the city fire department? Being in the EMS
Yeah.
last week?
No, are you online maybe?
Noah's on here.
We've had, how many years since?
Yeah, I think it was in 2007.
2017.
Yeah, and it's been Noah's project basically, because the EMS service started needing more support. And so the fire department was being called on to help. And then we started finding ourselves more and more with no ambulance, because there's only 3 for the county.
Yeah.
And so now we have 4 EMTs in the department.
Good.
I know that before we had the fire department doing that, there was a couple of calls where we had no ambulance, and I had to rush people in my vehicle, my patrol vehicle, to the hospital. And so there's been many calls where ambulance is tied up, and we've had these guys there to help. We've done CPR together. I mean, it's been very helpful because the ambulance crew do get tied up, and all we have many times is them. So, and they've been able to save some lives on several occasions.
Excellent.
That's good.
Any other
Bill, can
comments
you
or
hear me?
questions?
Yes, go ahead.
I think we started in 2017. And most of the equipment, besides, I know Juliana, the
You're breaking up.
smaller pieces of it, all of it, and it was all given to us.
I can somewhat translate. Other than the small things that we've purchased since I've been on the department, most of it was just given to us, so most of what we have is used.
I think it's a great thing.
Excellent.
Well, what I would suggest then, if you seem like you're mostly in favor of it, I would just recommend a motion that would authorize the city to spend capital outlay for a purchase of a life pack in an amount not to exceed, I put $30,000, but we could put the $28,000 number, that Stryker.
Yeah, well, we can go with up to 30, and that would cover the warranty.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then,
Okay. Okay, so that's what I would recommend, a motion to authorize the capital outlay for the purchase of this piece of equipment, life pack, 15, right?
life pack 15, yes.
Yeah, in an amount not to exceed $30,000.
So moved. I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to purchase the life pack and the warranty for an amount of $30,000 for use by the fire department in emergency situations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, the motion passes unanimously. Good job.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a long process, and I think it'll lift our spirits some, so we can keep working on some more grants and get us more monies coming in.
Yeah, thanks so much for your work on that.
Thank you. Really good work. The next item concerns the site improvement at the airport, and Larry Bellamy will present the details of that, or
Actually, Corley's
Corley.
gonna do that.
And Corey's on the line.
Yes. Corley, you're up.
Sounds good. Hear me?
A little bit louder. We need you a little bit louder.
Okay, let's see, you guys are kind of quiet too, let's see here. I can do on my end.
I turned
Is
you
that
up.
any better?
That's much better, thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, good to be here again tonight and see everybody. So thank you, Larry, for inviting me, and just excited to give an update on the fuel system project and just kind of development in general at the airport. Little background, just kind of a reminder, it's been a while since I was last here and presented. Tonight, specific to the agenda, is the fuel system site development project, and it's actually a recommendation to reject bids, but kind of the background of that, this bid that we'll talk about tonight is the second bid package in a two-part phased project. And so the first one that we discussed in the spring, the first bid was the actual equipment for the fuel system, and that bid was recommended by us and approved for award to the equipment supplier. And so that's been under fabrication, of course, with the current material shortages. That's taken longer than we had hoped, but they're continuing to fabricate that. And we had to wait on some time from pieces from that equipment bid to then supplement this site development bid, again, that we're talking about tonight, things like the foundation design for the specific tanks. And so specific to the bid that we just opened this month for, again, the site development, so prepare the site to receive the fuel tank and pump, they came in much higher than expected. In fact, they were almost double. And with these costs that we received, as noted in our recommendation, I mean, we exceed the grant funding, and so in my mind, we need to revisit the design and pare back the cost so that we stay within the grant funds, so that it doesn't cost additional money to the city. I think it is noteworthy, I mean, we received two bids, and they were very close to each other, within $1,000, and so I think the bidders understood the project. I did talk with them just to try and kind of get an idea of maybe some of the things we could do if we rebid it to reduce the cost. And the bidder that I talked to was surprised. He also felt that the bid that he submitted was higher than he would have expected just looking at the project. But his feeling was, with all the small minor elements and just kind of the distance that the fuel system's located from kind of the main core utilities and the power that are needed, that all that added cost. The other contributing cost factor that wasn't initially on our radar was the requirement that the project triggered to upgrade the vehicle site entrance at the airport to county commercial standards. So that's another item that's driving the cost that we saw in the bids. I think kind of concurrent with that, some things that have changed within the FAA. They've changed their approach to how they lay out hangars and how they evaluate hangars as obstructions to air navigation. And so that change was subsequent to the discussions we had about the airport kind of site development plan that we put together for future hangar construction. And so I also think, I mean, let's take this opportunity, if we're going to do some redesign on the fuel system, to make sure that the layout's compatible with the current FAA criteria. And the reason that's important, although the Goldendale Airport isn't subject to a lot of the FAA rules and regulations when it comes to the airspace and airspace protection. That is something that the airport should strongly consider abiding by, because it will limit and hinder operations at the airport in the future. So I do recommend that we fold those items in. And then I also write plans and interest in development have continued to evolve at the airport. And so I think this is also an opportunity to incorporate some of those recent discussions and interests with where people are considering building hangars. And so just to kind of summarize, I mean, I still think this is the right project for the airport. Phase 1 has already been awarded the equipment, and so we need to stay the course. My recommendation is stay the course and get the project done. I think that's by the grant obligations. We just need to revisit it and get it within budget. And I think we can take this as an opportunity to continue to refine our layout and just continue to get the fuel system and the ultimate configuration of the airport in a manner that continues to drive interest from developers. So I think there's to me, that means some additional discussion should be considered with the Airport Advisory Committee to refine the layout, and then just some additional discussion with the developers that we know that are interested in hangar construction out there before we repackage it and rebid it. So, Larry, that's kind of the quick summary. Anything to add or anything specific?
I think you covered it. You covered it very well. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it's a little bit more. It's signs of the times as well. So I think the only solution to try to keep in budget as best we can is to try to take a look at where things are placed at the airport, see if that can save us some money somehow, and to look at options. All the options are on the table, basically, to try to reduce the cost.
Yeah, maybe just one to mention, I think, again, this is, to me, an appropriate Airport Advisory Committee discussion is, right, do we want to pull out some of the work that was bid and evaluate having that done by others when we were doing the original?
Yeah, that's something that we should talk about.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's always something to be evaluated. It was discussed during the original design and ultimately decided not to chase it further, but I think it's something that could be looked at now. Now that we know where the costs are.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the length of the entranceway that you were talking about that we would have to pay? Do you recall?
So it's improving. There's kind of two, for those of you that know the airport, there's two vehicle entrances right now off of Fairgrounds Road, and in looking at the engineering, it was more appropriate and more compatible with the airport master plan to improve I would call it the south entrance, or the one closer to town. And so it's already a paved entrance, but it needs to be quite a bit wider. So it's not really any additional length, it's just widening out some of the entrance arcs to meet that commercial truck standard. And part of that will support the deliveries of fuel as well.
Could we combine that with the chance of combining with Fire Street? Or can we? Or could we?
You wouldn't want to necessarily, yes, I mean, we could, if the timing worked out.
It's just a thought. I mean, if that could help get a little cheaper.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, anytime, not knowing the specifics of the project that you mentioned, I mean, anytime this is a small project, and I think it's a great project for a small contractor, but anytime, especially with paving, if we can bundle it with another project, we're going to see a reduction in the bid prices, especially, like I said, focusing on paving.
Okay, well, Corley, this is another thing we can look at. We actually have a machine, the city has a small machine that might be able to do asphalt. And so that might be something we could pull out of the contract as done by others. If somebody did all well, we could probably even do the prep work too, so, and maybe that could be done sooner rather than later.
Then, when the, one of the bids for the cement, do you know where they were, where this supposedly would be coming from?
I don't know the exact pavers because they'll be, likely be subcontractors. I believe one of them was planning to come out of the Dalles, if I understood correctly.
Okay.
And that was another item that we noted, that mobilizations seemed extraordinarily high. I mean, just knowing that these contractors didn't have to travel real far. So that was another item we identified in our bid review as something that we noted as higher than we had anticipated.
Okay.
Council have other questions or comments? Larry, do we have a prospective date for the Airport Advisory Committee to meet again?
I have not come up with a date for that. Corley, do you have any thought about a date with the airport committee? Do you have any time available over, like, say early next week, something like a Monday or a Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, Monday for sure is open. I can look at Wednesday and get back to you. But yeah, I think let's keep this moving for sure. A little bit of that might come down to some of the kind of layout sketches you and I have been working on, Larry, for an alternative plan. Just making sure that those they don't have to be finished, but in a kind of a format. I think it'll help the group see the revised vision.
Well, given my schedule, I was just taking a look at the dates here, and I would prefer a look at the 29th of September, which is a Wednesday, next week from Wednesday. That'll give us a chance to put together some layouts and talk about options that are available for doing work by others. Would you be available on the 29th, do you think, Corley?
Let's see. So my afternoon, just looking at my calendar here, my afternoon's full. Are you thinking in person or Zoom meeting?
Oh,
I like in person, if we could.
in person if you can.
Okay. Okay. And then would that be kind of our normal kind of 7 o'clock-ish meeting?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think that'll work well.
Okay, let's set that up as a tentative date on the 29th of September for the airport committee.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
So then all we need is a motion to
Reject.
reject these bids.
Do we have a motion regarding the rejection of the site plan bid, construction bid?
I so move, Mayor. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reject all bids for the airport aircraft fueling system project regarding bid opening held September 9th, 2021. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Very good. Corley, before you might disappear, the airport meeting, a small airport, Washington small airport meeting that was planned in Leavenworth, is that still going to take place, or is that going to be a virtual event?
So I can speak to that. I'm on the advisory board for the Washington State Community Airports Association, and we do appreciate the City of Goldendale's support being a member for that, so thank you. At this point, the board is planning to move forward with an in-person meeting, barring any mandates from the governor that wouldn't allow it to occur. So we're looking forward to seeing you in person.
That's great. We have the same feelings. Thank you. Thank you. Hope you'll make that. We'll go on to the next item of business, and this concerns a rejection of the bid for site the discussion on hanging baskets. I had completely missed that. This will be a discussion on hanging baskets. We have discussed the cost of the flowers and the labor to keep them watered and taken care of. I'm going to turn it over to Larry, but it's a considerable expense. And we felt like we should discuss that if we're going to continue it or going to make changes that would make it less expensive.
Okay, let me give you a little bit of background on it, some points that we can draw from to begin shaping a discussion regarding the maintenance and operation of the hanging flower baskets around the city of Goldendale. So we have not ordered any seeds. So at the present time, we are not responsible for any flowers or purchasing the same. Ron Palter, however, has purchased seeds, which he said are available to us if we want to use them or don't want to use them. And basically, he's waiting for us to tell him the seeds he needs to plant for our project, whatever it may be. That's the reason why we're discussing it now, is because he has to get the seed, begin maintaining or growing those flowers over the winter season so that they're ready for putting them on the poles, the PUD poles. So as you had mentioned, in the past, it's cost us a little bit of a few dollars to maintain these plants. In 2020, we purchased enough hanging flowers for Maine, South Columbus, Simcoe, Roosevelt, Broadway, on all those light poles, on those streets, kind of in the circle, in that circle. The cost of the flowers and the maintenance of the same was about $35,000, and probably 80 baskets. That was in 2020. In 2021, we bought enough flowers to hang on Main Street and South Columbus, down to Simcoe, and then we stopped here at City Hall. And that cost is going to turn out to be less than $15,000. That's for 2021. We've been figuring it out. We've had to deal with a lot of elements like temperature changes, like cold and freezing temperatures and very hot, over 100-degree temperatures, and trying to keep those baskets moist and free from. And then also we had a lot of wind, which makes that difficult and hard on the flowers as well. The budget committee has discussed this a little bit, and if I remember, the recommendation from the budget committee was to concentrate on downtown, the flowers downtown. So that means at least Main Street. So we, in the budget committee, wanted to open that up for discussion and see where the council sat so that we can order the seeds that would properly be planted. And because we want to get the better seeds, we want to get the better flowers, and be able to see those flourish if we decide to order that many. So that's a little bit of the background. Are there any questions or beginning in comments or discussion about what you want to do for 2022? Okay,
I'll go ahead. I was on that committee, and the flowers are great. They look beautiful, but that is a significant amount of money. That just like the flowers, it has to be replanted every year. It is an ongoing expense. I don't know how many of you buy flowers every year, or special occasions, they die and then you had to buy them again. But that's a lot of money. And part of the discussion was focusing more on a small area. We've had discussions here at council about beautification of downtown. we're spreading ourselves thin throughout the town, that may be focusing in small parts, in our downtown, and that can draw in more people, more tax revenue and so forth. So instead of throwing money away, we can help with a little bit of what will bring money in. Of course, we don't want to leave all the light posts empty. I thought, and part of the discussion and what I would like is something more, something that lasts longer. We can invest a little bit. I know the senior class from last year is still on every pole, and the parents bought those banners. I think it was like, about $30.
I didn't think they were donated this year.
They weren't donated.
Oh, I think they were donated.
They were donated, but I think it comes about $30 a banner. And either parents or somebody in the community donated that since COVID started. And I think it brings a lot of pride in our own community, showcasing our seniors. A lot of them have pictures of football or their other activities that they go with, and so that's displayed throughout our town. So maybe investing a little bit on that, helping the school out to make sure that it keeps happening. The other thing we can do is maybe some bigger banners around town. Not on every light pole, definitely, but I've seen other cities where they have a little bit larger banners that, welcome to the city, maybe a picture of our observatory at the entrance or near the entrance, or further down, so that people coming in can see, hey, they have an observatory. Because to tell you the truth, it wasn't we were here almost a whole year before we knew there was an observatory. So, you come in, you stop by, and you might see the banner and say, hey, we want to stop there. So maybe some directional banners around the entrances that, showcase maybe local artists, local photographers. And definitely they'll last longer. They can be used several years. And they can alternate with the high school banners so that we can keep showcasing our seniors. A little bit of investment in our school versus flowers that keep dying over and over. And then invest, I think, maybe redoing some of the barrels downtown with something more, either new barrels or something that's going to last longer.
Yeah, those barrels are toast.
Yeah. And making sure that that part of our town is presentable. I think if we spread out too much, we can't do it all. So.
Well,
Any comments?
I had a comment on that. Oh, you go ahead, Marlon.
Oh, okay, I'll be briefly, yeah.
No.
Well, anyway, the flower baskets, it started with Ty Ross. He donated the flowers, and the first year, he did the job himself. He went out there, I don't know how often, but he was out there quite often watering the flowers. I personally think a lot of people enjoy the flowers, seeing the flowers, and I like I guess it was 15 for Broadway, or no, Main Street, is that what that is? I'd still like to see continue doing it on, like this last year. We went so far up the street on the baskets, I believe. Yeah, so, I think
You
people,
know what we did last year?
no, I think,
This year, I mean?
This year, yeah, there was
This year
flowers.
we did the 100 block of East and West Main, and then all of South Columbus.
Okay,
Up to Simcoe.
right, and that was $15,000, that
Correct.
cost of that, yeah. Well, I don't know, I think people really enjoy seeing the flowers, and I personally would, hopefully we could continue on. And I know it's an expense, but then, again, the people enjoy them. And Phil, you brought up a good question about entrance ways. I know the chamber is looking at possibly putting up a billboard or flag or or something for, when you come entrance way for the observatory. They are looking at that, and that's a good idea. I like that. And I hope that the chamber or even the city can help do that, because that's gonna mean a lot. When people come in, they're gonna see a billboard, and they got some great pictures that they could put up there, and it will show the observatory, and then maybe put a sign down there on North Columbus, how to get up to the observatory there. So anyway, that's my comment, you know, that's the way I feel. I think a lot of people enjoy the flowers, and I really kind of hope we can work something out. Be happy to talk more about it, but then that's my comments right now, that we can try to work some more. Anyway, that's what my comment there.
Thank you, Mylan. David?
Yeah, thank you. Can I talk about the money a little bit, please, Larry? The $15,000, is that broken down on?
Yes.
Oh, how much of that is man hours and actually watering? That's the most substantial part of it, isn't it?
Yes,
Well, and isn't he a full-time employee anyhow?
yes.
So,
Okay, the 4 items for this year so far, we've spent almost $13,000. We have $3,600 in regular salary, $1,500 in overtime, $1,600 in benefits, and then operating supplies, which includes the fertilizer and the water and the flowers. The flowers came to a little over $6,000. So it's right at $13,000 so far this year. There's a few expenses yet to be coming through our coffers, because I think we just took them down here just recently, so we're getting ready to take them down.
so the bottom line of that is what I'm getting at is, it's a full-time employee that's doing it anyhow, so the $3,600 in salary, we're not going to save that by not doing the flowers. And the $1,600 in benefits, we're not going to save that by not doing the flowers. I mean,
Numbers-wise, you're not.
right, numbers-wise, we would save about $7,500 for the year by not doing them.
Oh, okay,
That's what I'm saying?
yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was at the meeting also, and at first we were kind of hit by the sticker shock of it, but man, since that meeting, I've been talking to people around town, left and right, and it's pretty much unanimous. Everybody loves those flowers.
Yep.
And a lot of people would be super upset not to see them. I think we've already, you know, compromised on them. Going from 2020, we spent $35,000 to do the entire loop, and we've toned it down to Main Street in Columbus. And were they on Broadway a little bit in front of the Methodist Church? No?
I don't recall.
Okay, well, anyways, I still get lots of compliments on them this year. All year I've been getting compliments on them, and just the people I've been talking to, left and right, everybody loves them. And I don't think for that much money we should stop doing it. I've been thinking about it quite a bit and talking to a lot of people about it, and I think people would just be super disappointed to not see them next year. And I want to vote to keep them, at least keep them in the capacity that we did it this year. When you look at that money, that's money well spent when it comes down to it. You know, when you look at the numbers of it and the bigger picture, that's my opinion. I think we should keep them. I love the idea of the banners too. You know, great. You know, those could be relatively inexpensive to get put together, and I think that's a great idea too. But I just can't go along with getting rid of those flowers at this time.
Other comments or questions?
I have a question. So how come there's $1,500 on overtime? How do you get overtime watering?
When there's a
We have to
Weekends.
water them 7
100
days a week.
Oh, some weekends.
And
and then when it's really hot, they have to go out a second time.
Oh.
yeah, and that's the thing is, even though we're not saving on the employees, because either way they're paid, that pulls them away from other jobs. So that's something to think about. Is,
I personally love the flowers. I think they're great.
There.
I mean, I've been threatened by some of the ladies in this town if those flowers.
You
So,
better save that.
Well, they're good customers too, aren't they?
that's right, that's right. Yeah, there's no way I can vote to get rid of the flowers.
Maybe, Larry, maybe a good compromise would be to get some investment from the community too. I mean, Mylan mentioned that it was started by Ty Ross, who did it himself, and, you know, and then eventually the city inherited from going, you know, something beautiful that started with a really good idea, and it is beautiful, to no buy-in from the community other than wanting them to be there. I know the flowers downtown, some businesses take care of them, and other businesses, it turns into a ash pit. You know, so I think we need some buy-in from the community and some agreement there that, I don't know if we can get some groups to help out water, but at least, you know, in downtown, some buy-in from the businesses that.
A lot of the businesses don't have water though coming out of their
Right.
places.
No, it's just a matter of going out there and pouring a pitcher of water. But I know,
You can reach them.
right, before, well, no, I mean the lower ones. I know at the meeting, there was talk about one of them had to be removed because there's actually, it was actually a burning pile because it had turned into a ash folder.
I removed it, yeah.
You know, so that's the kind of thing that, it is beautiful, but
But the city doesn't maintain those, they don't have anything to do with those. It's a different group that does it. So that has nothing to do with the city.
well, they are paid for by the city, correct?
they're
They are
not.
rented?
they're not.
Nope, they're not.
Not the barrels.
Nope.
No, not the barrels, the flowers.
Nope,
Like the hanging pots.
no, just the hanging pots. The flowers inside the barrels are not paid by the city at all.
Nope.
City has nothing to do with it.
And they're not planted by the FFA?
Nope.
FFA does it.
No,
They grow the
it's the
flowers and they plant
beautification.
them.
It's the FFA.
It's the FFA paid for by the
FFA.
city.
I don't know, we've done it in our barrels for years, so.
Yeah. Because the city buys them from the FFA, correct?
No,
No.
Yes.
no,
We
no.
buy, the city does,
The
the
city
city
has nothing
buys
to do with
the
it.
hanging flowers.
Right.
from Dandy Valley.
Okay.
The barrels, the
barrels
city has
are-
nothing to do with.
Correct.
And-
Except we do assist on the Saturday that they come out and plant them. We assist with a fire truck or a water truck, whatever's available,
Mhm.
to give them some additional water. So we do assist, but all the work is pretty much done by FAA.
FFA, right. I thought there was some money exchanged from the city to FFA.
Well, one thought,
We
could
did
we,
do some tourism things with them.
yeah, one
Not for the
thought,
flowers,
could we save money if we have a private contractor do the job?
No,
No, we wouldn't? Oh, okay. Sorry, I brought it up.
I don't think so.
Oh,
'Cause
okay. well,
we had all the equipment already and
Right, right. But I thought then that would free that city employee to be doing city projects, you know, Ellerith, whatever. He
But
does
then
a
you
great
just
job.
pay someone else, and the city employee is already employed.
But I thought we were kind of short on city employees.
That's kind of what the concern was with not doing the flowers anymore, was because now we're having the new full-time employee would still be doing that majority of the summer, the mornings and afternoons, and it takes them away from the jobs that really, in all honesty, the public works needs. So that's where it's kind of that, you kind of weighing each option, it's kind of hard to make that decision, and that's why we were leaning towards not doing the flowers. But, I mean, I enjoy the flowers just like everyone else, but at the same time, we just added a full-time employee to help with more work for the city, but now we're taking them away to do the watering the flowers.
But you gotta
So
think
it's
about the city too. We've gotta make our city look good.
True,
You know, I
but
mean,
you also
we
gotta
can't
make
just
sure
give
the
up on
water's running,
Goldendale
you gotta
like we
make sure
have.
the streets are taken care of, you gotta make sure,
I
I
agree.
mean, that's why I'm saying there's that hard decision to make, and you know,
But
it sucks,
but
but.
we can't just give up.
It's not a fight against the flowers, it's a fight to figure out where we can put that employee or how we can get them to, for example, paint the stripes for the sidewalks for the kids. That's not a matter of Goldendale being pretty, that's a matter of public safety, but the stripes are not painted because the public works is overworked and haven't got to it.
And that's why I brought up the idea, excuse me, Phil, the
Yeah.
idea of a private contractor. But you say that won't work?
We could certainly try, but I don't know, the hours are not very good.
No, but
Wasn't there someone
But-
that 2 years ago you hired? He was an
We did
older,
hire-
yeah.
We
And
did
how'd that
hire,
work out?
worked out good when he was, well, actually it worked out very well, as long as he did it.
Yeah,
But then when he couldn't do it anymore,
yeah.
because of physical
Yeah.
conditions.
Yes, I mean, whatever the rest of the council decides, but it's not whether we like the flowers or not, it's trying to figure out
Well,
the
idea,
employee hours, basically.
now that Mylan brings it up, maybe there is somebody that's in a retirement situation and they just want to do something for a couple hours or 4 hours a day for April through September or May
Right,
through
right.
September. We might be able to find somebody like that. So
I
that's
think it
not-
would be,
that's
but I
worth-
don't know.
That's worth exploring.
Sure,
That's a
sure.
great idea. Well, I vote to keep the flowers down Main Street and where they were. So,
Now, would you want, in keeping the flowers, keep the scale down versus?
yeah,
just
like we
talked
did
about?
this year.
So could we maybe, I mean, we're not making a motion on this or anything, right? This is just discussion.
Well, it is, but I need to let Ron Palter know.
Is there any way we can hold off until the next meeting and maybe we can look into options like Mylan was talking about? Or is it more of a time-sensitive issue?
Well, I told him I would call him back in the morning. Like you said, he's already bought the seeds, so it's not like he can't wait another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are we gonna look for somebody to fill the position? I mean, when it gets down to brass tacks, how do you want me to evaluate whether or not we can find somebody who only wants to work part-time?
Well, the other option is we keep it status quo, no changes, and bring it out for discussion throughout the year until the next winter. And then the council can decide not this year, go ahead with this year. And next year, everybody can figure out
Well-
what our options are to fix the public works need of employees.
Right.
And if not, what would be a substitute to the flowers, or do we keep it going but put aside public work jobs that should be handled and
Right.
put them off aside so that, those aren't done?
As far as who does the job, that wouldn't have to be determined until next spring.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what we can maybe do is tell them yes and go ahead and for Columbus and Main Street.
Yes.
And then between now and springtime, we can figure out a way, maybe like Mylan was saying, maybe there's someone,
Find a
retirement
person.
age that,
Yeah.
wants that little extra money that they'd be able to do that for us.
Even if we could do a compromise where we could have someone retired do them 4 days a week and
Yeah.
one of our city workers do it the
Yeah.
other 3 days a week.
Or there's an option too, like summertime, that maybe we can get a, high schooler to help out.
Well, the other,
I mean, that could be an
the other
option,
option,
too.
instead of hiring that employee, would be to contract that job. And look for somebody that has a business license that can contract that job out, just like we do cleaning service. And then that would definitely be less than, benefits, medical insurance, or,
Yeah.
workman's comp insurance and all that gets added to a new employee.
Okay. So the consensus I'm hearing is go ahead and order the seeds enough to do what we did this year.
Yep.
Okay?
So we have
And-
consensus.
and further, that we should continue to try to find somebody in a retirement age, position, and see if we can fill that position that way, and then that covers the public works issue. Okay, I can do that.
Good, consensus reached.
Yay, now the old ladies aren't drinking.
They're up for the day.
Careful who you
We
call.
We saved ya.
Hey, careful who you call old. It might still come after you.
Yeah, yeah,
This could be a city council project.
yes.
You two do it this week, those two. I think you can do it. Great. We don't have resolutions or ordinances to consider tonight, so we'll go to report of officers and city administrator, and we'll begin with Larry Bellamy, our city administrator. Larry.
Okay, I reported on financial statements last year, or last month, and I'm reporting on them again this month. This is for the month of, through August, not angst, it should be August. And the revenue picture looks very, very good in accordance with where I would see it needs to be. We're looking at 67%, with one exception, which is a good exception, and that is that retail sales are at 103% versus 67%. And I can attribute that to the building going on, especially the Gwinnett County Administrative Services building. It's contributing a lot to that number. On the expenditure side, everything looks pretty good, except for a couple exceptions, one being legal services. And as we've talked about this before, it's nice, we're still trying to do a lot of code enforcement. Some of the ones that we have in the pipeline are pretty bad ones. And so we need to make sure that we go through the right due process and follow the right court complaints and get warrants of abatements issued. And the violators need to have their buildings demolished or cleaned up in some way. But when we do that, it does take extra time, and we have to make sure we get all the legal steps done perfectly. So sometimes that does add up, and that's one of the reasons why legal services is as high as it is. Everything else looks pretty much in accordance with where I would see them being, with the exception of the water, on the percent spent on water, it's at 83%, so that needs some evaluation to make sure that I can bring that in line with where, a little closer to where it's supposed to be. But overall, I think our budget is looking pretty well according to estimates, and we need to continue to work on that for next year. And so that kind of brings me to my other point, and that is, we did have a budget committee meeting last month, but I think we need another one, because we need to talk about some issues related to the budget for 2022. And the first budget document is scheduled to be put out for 2022 at the next council meeting, which is, the next one is October 4th. And in the October 4th requirement for the budget document, it's called a proposed preliminary budget for 2022. So I think we need to meet together as a budget committee next Monday, if we can, to continue making sure we discuss where we're going in 2022 and get some feel for where the money needs to be spent. And talk about budget revenues and expenditures and how it's going to work next year. So, are you guys available on Monday?
I'm actually out of town on Monday, so.
Okay, how about,
I'll make it easy for you. I won't be available next week.
you won't be available next week. Okay, well, then we're gonna punt. I'm gonna do a proposed preliminary budget, and we'll meet on October 11th to discuss it.
Very good.
October 11th.
October 11th.
be the budget committee meeting.
Budget committee meeting.
What time?
7 o'clock?
So is that a good time for you guys?
Works for me.
Should be.
7 o'clock is good for you, Dave? Joe?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's a holiday, but I don't know how. big
It
a
is?
holiday.
October 11th?
October 11th?
Columbus Day.
Oh, we don't get it off.
to that.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so, I just thought I'd throw that out.
Everybody's gonna want it off now.
Larry, you'll be in charge of the holiday dinner then?
Yeah. A couple of other things that I'd like to point out is we did get delivery on the street sweeper, new street sweeper. And we are expecting to get delivery of the vac truck this coming Thursday. We'll hopefully have a little show and tell on October 4th. We'll bring them down here to City Hall and show them off a little bit.
Can I drive it?
You talk real nice.
I will.
I'll let
About
you drive
10
it all
feet.
around town so we can.
Yeah, right, yeah, no, he'll do his parking lot first.
Yeah.
I better make sure I write that down and tell Doug I just committed him to a show and tell.
And allowing council to drive.
Yeah.
That was recorded, right?
I actually asked the people delivering the truck, I said, now, when do you need to have a CDL? How much weight can you carry when you have a CDL? It's 26,000 pounds. So it's quite a bit over 26,000 pounds. So, sorry Dave, but you gotta have a CDL.
I got one.
Oh. And here I thought I was.
Not out of the woods.
You're safe,
Drives
then,
a
yeah.
bus.
She drives a bus.
That's cool.
Oh, that's right.
That'd be a piece of cake. It's a very nice piece of cake.
This one comes with no screaming kids, so.
Okay, and then the other thing I want to point out is, we've been talking about this REDS project, which is the Regional Economic Diversification Summit. That's being, a lot of contributors to this project. There's probably going to be close to, it's going to be an all virtual meeting. And it's going to be probably close to 100 people, would you say, Mike?
I think that's about right. There are representatives of federal and state agencies that would be possible. They might donate or take up one of these projects as a state or federal project support.
Anyway, it's happening on this Wednesday, the 22nd.
Where at?
From 8:30 to 12:30, and it's by, you have to log in to Zoom. Why, were you interested in participating?
Not at that time, sorry,
Okay.
but.
Well, it's kind of by invitation, and would you say, Mike, is that kind of?
I think
mean,
so.
they're not excluding anybody, of course, but
Not
you
at all.
need to, if you're interested, we need to make sure you have the right
Yeah.
connections and the right codes to get into the Zoom meeting and all of that.
There'll also be a prepared report afterwards as well.
Perfect.
And if we get the donations or the support, federal and state, that we want, there'll be all kinds of jumping up and down, dancing and shouting in the streets. Or it'll be very quiet.
Okay, excuse me, I just need to write down a couple of things before I forget them. Okay, and then just to reiterate, the budget committee is October 11th, Monday. Budget committee is at 7, and the airport committee is on the 29th of September, that's on Wednesday. Okay. That's all I have.
All complete. Thank you, Larry. We'll begin on council reports, and we'll start with our council pro tem, mayor pro tem, excuse me.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, Phil?
Just want to say thanks to everybody. I think this was a nice, healthy meeting. We had great discussion, great points of view. And it all ends in a friendly way. I know well, I've been at, not this council, this city, but other council meetings in other cities that council doesn't get along. And I think even though we have a few council members that are only here temporarily, unfortunately, it's good. It's a good, healthy discussion. We always have good discussions, and we can adjust our thoughts, and then normally agree where we're going. So I think it's really healthy, and it's nice to be part of.
And that's exactly the aim of a good council. Exactly. Thank you, Phil. Great work, all of you. Anything else? If not, Mylan?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. No, I just looking forward to that Reds meeting on Wednesday and see what the report is on that. So
Right.
I think it's going to be very favorable. Thank you.
I don't have nothing.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I wanted to give a big thanks to the city fire department. You know, a week or so ago at the store, we had a gas leak in there. We got new heaters, and I ended up having to call dispatch, and the fire department got down there, and it couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know how they get to things so fast like that, but really appreciated it. I was really nervous about it. I'd never had a gas leak like that before, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew if I called dispatch, they would at least get the fire department. They coordinated everything to get the gas guy down there, and they even brought a big fan to blow all the gas out of the store so I didn't have to smell it the next morning. And yeah, it was just a real impressive way they rolled in there and took care of that for me. I really appreciate it. And then I also want to talk about, someone brought it to my attention that, I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but that time capsule on the courthouse lawn is due to be open next year. I don't know if you guys are aware of that time capsule. It was put there in 1972, and that was for the centennial of the town. And next year is when it's supposed to be opened, and I think Community Days would be a perfect time to open that next year. And I've been talking to a few people about it, and yeah, I think we could really get around that on Community Days if we made a big event out of it and kind of featured it on Community Days. That'd be real fun.
We're trying to also get a commemorative coin marking at the same time, so maybe we'll try to have that for Community Days.
Yeah, yeah.
To add that in.
I'm excited to see what's in there.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Darlene.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, I've got something, and we've had so much discussion tonight on the fact that we're beginning to see and feel community pride, which is just exactly what a city needs, this city especially. But I was watching, I do a lot of things on YouTube. I find recipes I want to try and all sorts of things, pretty cars and stuff like that. But I also found that a lot of these things where they say that the prettiest small town in Texas or Indiana, and I also found one the other day that said the 10 worst cities in Washington. Well, that got my attention. I thought, uh-oh, because I always worry that they may pop up with Goldendale. Well, I want to give you the list and why they're on that list as the worst in Goldendale and worst in Washington State. Number 10 was Union Gap. Because of poverty and crime, they have over 300% higher crime than anywhere else in the country. The next one was Spokane. I was surprised at the caliber of the cities that were picked. On Spokane, it was crimes and drugs. On Centralia, it was 8% unemployment, crime, and their flooding problem because they're built in a floodplain. Aberdeen also was on the list as number 7. That was again high crime and 8% unemployment. Tukwila, same way, with unemployment, costly, high crime area, all those things. Shelton was on the list. Then Everett, surprised me, Everett, I've been to Everett a number of times. It seemed like a very nice place. The one from the worst was Yakima. Same way, crime, gun violence, and gangs. The next one was Tacoma. And the very worst for Washington State was Seattle. That's our dream town. That's our Our main thing you think of when you think of Washington State is Seattle, and it was because of the cost of living, the lawless and homeless and the elitism, high crime, higher crime than even LA. That's quite a mark to give a city as beautiful as Seattle once was. But now look at Goldendale. It's quiet, low crime. We have poverty, of course, but it's not anywhere near what these major metropolitan areas are experiencing. And the reason I wanted to give this list is so that you understand what a precious and special city we have here. It's beautiful in its settings. The air is clean. People are great. Everybody's trying to do the best they can for this city. That's exactly what we want. So I felt it was something that we could talk about and think about. I found another one there was the worst cities in the United States. I won't go through that one, but the first one was Portland. The worst.
I believe
And
that.
because of the riots and all of that. So we have a lot of things going for Goldendale, and I think we should be very proud of our police department, our
That's
public
what
works,
the police department does very well.
everybody. Yes, exactly. Fire department's a knockout. I don't think I've ever not heard a compliment about how quick the fire department responds. Absolutely superb, and the police department too. And they're needed, they're there, and that's a huge thing. So that's all I have on that, but I felt it was something that we ought to really realize what we have. Sometimes we just don't know what we've done. When you lose the agenda, you've really lost. Now, the next item is public comment. Yes, you're going to be the next mayor. On the public comment, anyone would like to make a remark? If you can keep it to 3 minutes. Yes, please.
You said Aberdeen. I used to live there. I know what you mean.
Yes.
Used to live in Spokane and Portland too. That's scary.
It is.
Okay, my name's Kate Garner-Schmidt. Larry knows probably what I'm going to talk about. And I'll keep it short. It's a handicap parking down at the drugstore.
It's been marked.
I started this in April.
Right.
I'm still waiting. I've talked to Larry. I want it on record. It's now 5 months.
Yep.
And winter's coming on. I have a hard time walking around your grocery store, let alone going into the drugstore. And I know the paint and the sign, I know all that, done a little research. Is the paint coming from Louisiana or Texas?
I don't know. Sandy Wells in our office checks every week to see when they're.
I'll call him.
What's that?
I'll be glad to call him every week. Is there any way we could get a temporary sign?
Where are you wanting to put it at? Right in front of the pharmacy?
On the corner?
Right at the corner.
Oh, right around?
No, right there in front on the corner, Darlene, right where the
Yeah.
walkway,
Yeah, right there.
yeah.
We actually had a presentation back in
April 14th, no, April 19th, excuse me.
Places where we had
That's a good
ramps.
idea.
And we've got the weather.
Pardon me?
We already have the weather to get it done, so we'll do our best to get it long before the rain and ice comes.
I'm looking at
We'll do our
ice and
best.
snow. Yeah, yeah. Now, do you want to see where they want to put it? I've got the map right here, Darlene.
Sure.
Okay, but anyway, I just wanted to be put on record
Just so the
to,
council knows, we do call almost every week to make sure, to try to find if there's any paint, but because of supply chain issues, there's no paint available. As you can see, we haven't even done the crosswalks, and because we can't get any paint.
okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate your coming too. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, Steve Johnston.
Steve Johnston, 509 Northeast High Street, Goldendale. I'd like to comment on what the mayor just talked about here. In my opinion, that those situations are the result of the failed policies of the current state and federal administrations.
Exactly.
Namely, lack of support for law enforcement.
Right.
Simple and pure, across the board.
That's it. Good point.
Well, it's a fact. But I'm going to take this opportunity to discuss a couple of issues out of the many that we're facing right now that most likely wouldn't end up on the agenda without some persuasion. And they are having as much of an impact, if not more of an impact, on the citizens of this community and indeed the entire country than the regular issues you have to deal with, which are important. I don't want to degrade that at all. They have to do with, but not limited to, taxes, mandates, and regulations. And I've got some information here I'll pass out to the council for informative regarding these two issues. I've got one for everybody on the council, including the mayor. Well, let Miley start passing them around.
Okay.
And the two issues I'd like to discuss have to do with mandates and taxes. Here's another one. Pick one and pass it around. And then there's this one here. Okay. I'll start with the taxes. And that one being the so-called capital gains income tax that's trying to be forced on us by the state legislature. I want to point out that this same thing has been voted down over 6 times by the people of this state.
Steve, before you finish, keep going. The code says 3 minutes that we give for somebody that wants to speak in public comment, but it also says that you can, as a council, you can extend that. Would you, as a council, like to hear Steve's comments, or would like to have him continue?
I'd love to give them another 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say another 3 minutes.
I won't take up much extra.
Come on.
Okay, keep going, Steve, I just had to bring that up, thank you.
I could do this as a presentation somewhere down the road,
Good.
but it'd take a lot more time,
That's all
and
right.
I'd have a lot more issues to talk about. Anyway, this tax, like I say, it's been voted down over 6 times by the people of this state. And the socialist regime that's ruling this state now is trying every trick in the book, and some that aren't, to run this through again. And that's why I brought the information.
Good.
Read over it at your leisure, and because you're going to have to deal with this eventually, like it or not, it's coming at you. The other one is regarding mandates, and that being the mask mandate. One of those papers points out there are 32 states that do not have mask mandates. And there are numerous cities and counties throughout this country that have banned the mandate. It is nothing less than political theater. Nothing less. In fact, Florida, the state of Florida, a federal judge just upheld Florida state's mask mandate, or the ban on the mandate. All of these issues, these two and a whole bunch more, in fact all of them, are going to play out in the courts. They are being challenged, every one of them. The point I would like to make tonight regards the council. You'll see there where other city councils have banned this tax.
The tax?
The
For
tax.
the masks.
Okay.
Oh, tax.
I thought we were masks.
You can do that too, believe it or not. These small city councils like this have the authority, if you've got the courage, to challenge these issues. That's where the buck stops, right here at this desk. And it's comforting to know that we have a sheriff and a police force that's got your back. You're not alone. You are not alone. And in my opinion, to disregard or do nothing regarding these issues is nothing short of judicial and constitutional dereliction. You're letting down, you're not defending. By avoiding these, you're not defending the rights and well-being of your constituents. And you're not defending your constitutional authorities. And the state is working overtime to try to strip municipalities of these authorities to govern your own town. And if you don't wake up and challenge it, you will become non-essential. Guaranteed. You might as well turn this room into a greenhouse for the plants.
Right.
Thank you.
The point of explanation before we get through with this little,
Pardon?
a point of explanation, the city's policy has been from the beginning that we recommend masking, we recommend social distancing, but we're not enforcing it. It's a personal choice of people, and we're standing by their personal choice.
Well, and again, let this go down as just my opinion, but let's throw it out there a lot, discussion. The biggest reason, maybe not the only reason, that any entity such as this council kneels to these mandates is they don't want to jeopardize their spot at the revenue trough. It's about money. This virus was politicized, weaponized, and commercialized from the get-go. There is so much money being made off of this, it'll boggle your mind.
But it's also killing people, and
Mayor.
it is killing people.
And I would just, another point is that I agree that it's been politicized. I don't think it should be more politicized than it is, therefore we should follow what our medical experts recommend. We should recognize the state of emergency the hospitals are in, not only in Washington, but also surrounding states. I don't have a medical degree, so I don't think we should politicize it anymore by bringing it into council and voting whether we do or not follow recommendations from our medical experts.
We have an established policy that has respected people's rights.
So we put medical people in charge of making recommendations and calls. I think I would recommend that we keep to that, so.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Steve.
Gilberto, the professionals you're talking about, let's hear from all of them, not just the hand-picked liberals. There is overwhelming evidence out there, scientific evidence,
Well,
that
I will
blows
talk with the
this
border.
out of the
Time is
water.
over. So we don't want to, and involve ourselves in the discussion.
Okay, you're gonna have to deal with it sooner or later.
Anyone else here for public comment? Terry Lou.
Have to make sure all three of us get up. Terry Luke, 116 North Chatfield. When the city first got the aid car, I was one of the first people who had a heart attack. The police department showed up with 2 off-duty officers. The aid car showed up, and I'm alive.
Yeah.
They were there at least 10 minutes prior to KVH and Mark Bryant being able to show up. Mark Bryant took over the scene. He known me for years, so he knew there was something major wrong. So he made the call to call in Lifeline. I keep calling it dust off from my military career. Also, I eat at several of the restaurants downtown because I am single, and I have heard the comments about the flowers time and time again from people who stop and see Goldendale.
Right.
So to get rid of them flowers, yes, the city might be charged $15,000, but you're getting $15,000 worth of revenue brought into this town because it looks good.
Easily.
So if you start losing that, how much more money do you actually end up losing? You know, you have to look at that process too. And I've been on the airport committee for 3 mayors now. And I know that Mylan is a council member that's on the committee. I don't know who the other 2 are because everybody's changed other than Andy. But I would highly recommend that you guys go to that meeting because there has been so much thought put into everything at that airport that it would just blow your mind. And the idea that I had for bringing that up as a city event thing was because it will bring in jobs. When I had my automotive shop, I looked at what would make money for the city, and that can supply so many jobs that we don't need to overlook. Then our plants won't cost us $15,000 out of the budget. It may still cost it, but we got more money in the budget.
Exactly.
So I'm looking at 150 jobs that could be at the airport once it's up and running, totally. And Larry and him have all, we've done what, 5 revisions?
Yeah.
And every time we come up and something comes up to where we can't move forward.
Right.
So we have to go back and do it again. But there's a lot of work by a lot of people in this town being done by that. And I really think you all should be at one of them meetings to really see what goes on. And like I say, I don't even know who the other 2 are that's on the council. Or if they've even been appointed since the guys left.
I think the last 2 were John Sullivan and Guy Terrio, if I remember.
Yeah,
I don't know what Guy was, yeah.
yeah.
So in light of that, are there 2 council members, Mylan, I'm assuming you would want to come to that.
Right, yes.
And are there 2 other council members who are interested in participating in the airport committee?
That was Wednesday at 7.
That was a week from Wednesday at 7,
29th.
yes.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Good.
'Cause, I mean, every business will be affected once that's up and running.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I was looking at actually both of you.
Were you raising your hand? Dave?
Yeah.
I was looking at David.
Yeah.
And as far as a quick note, why not get the businesses to sponsor a light pole on the ones that don't have plants to get their business up
I was
on the
thinking the
lines?
same thing too.
Good idea. You know, we've got 150 businesses really in town. Let them sponsor a pole that isn't felled.
I think we're also, excuse me, interrupting, but I think that the trees, there's really more trees than light poles. We need to,
Those
like,
trees need some tender care. They're dying.
yeah, at least do the base of them.
They're dying.
Is that right?
Yeah, they are. They
Well,
don't get watered or anything. They're
Well,
dying.
they replaced them once on Roosevelt because they died.
Down Main Street, I'd say, take them out.
I think with the discussion and taking this time, I recommend adding 3 more minutes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, we kind of.
Just so we're on the record for
We
that.
spun that off.
Since we took some time.
I was done, you know, I know most of you personally, but not as council members. I used to be here every meeting, and they were all, couldn't you have died in that heart attack? You know, but there's only 2 council members left from that time period because we went through COVID. Thank you for the time and the 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Barry.
Kevin has his hand
And
up. Kevin has his hand up.
Kevin's
Oh, Kevin?
up here.
I'm here, can you hear me?
Up
You're
here.
gruffly.
Okay, let me switch over to the phone. Sorry.
So my recording's gonna sound.
Is that Kevin Fayette?
Yeah, it's not coming through right.
Kevin, we're not hearing you.
I think he was going to switch over to his phone.
He's switching phones.
Can you hear me here now?
No, that's even worse.
How about now?
A little
No,
better.
All right, I'll try to speak up. The last meeting I asked about if we could get an actual doctor with education to deal with some of the conspiracy theories about the COVID virus. Were we able to make any headway on that?
we can't understand you.
I think it was going, we asked for some doctors from KVH, local doctors, to talk about COVID and their state.
Instead of conspiracy theories,
So he's wondering where we're at.
we forgot.
Well, you guys want me to put something like that together?
Yeah, I think I had asked at the last meeting too, if we can get KVH and also a representative from KCEMS to talk about the state of, I think it's now a state of emergency for hospitals. So I'd like to, yeah, I would agree with Kevin that we need to hear from our local medical professionals, not only on COVID and versus conspiracy theories, but also what is the state that they are in locally, and also with the ambulance service, because I know it's trickling down.
So we need to invite KVH and/or a representative from Clickitat County EMS service to come in and talk about state of emergency issues, COVID-19, and ambulance service status of what's going on with our ambulance service, so we can get an idea what's happening over there. Okay, I'll get that set up.
I don't think we have anybody else on the line.
And was that everything that Kevin had?
Was that it, Kevin?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll now need to begin our executive session, and with that we have to clear the room. This is our executive session for union negotiations. And we'll take a 5-minute break.
Larry.